The former police officer who fatally shot Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota last month is expected to appear in court early next week. Kim Potter shot and killed the 20-year-old after pulling him over for expired vehicle registration tags. Wright joins a long list of unarmed Americans killed by police as a result of traffic stops. Some legal experts suggest reducing reliance on police for enforcing traffic laws. They argue it will prevent unnecessary and potentially fatal police encounters. For more on this, I am joined by Columbia Law School professor Sarah Seo. She is also the author of the book Policing the Open Road: How Cars Transformed American Freedom. Sarah, thanks for being here. In a recent op-ed for the New York Times, you wrote that traffic violations disproportionately ensnare people of color. Data also shows that Black people are more likely to be killed in police encounters. Why are Black Americans more likely to be stopped by police, and why are they also more likely to be killed as a result?
Well, there's two answers to your question. One, the first question, why are they more likely to be stopped? There's lots of reasons. One of the main reasons is that race and poverty overlap a great deal in this country. And so there's a lot of minor infractions that they could be pulled over for that have nothing to do with committing a crime, but they're more like regulations that have to do with failure to update their registration, their license tags, pay off traffic tickets that might result in a warrant. So there's a lot of reasons why they might be pulled over for a minor violation. The second question is, why are they more likely to be killed? And that also has a multi-causal explanation. One is, historically in this country, Blackness has been associated with criminality. So that's one explanation. And the other is that police officers are trained to respond to uncertainty and unpredictability during traffic stops with an armed, violent response. And so those are the mixtures that result in police shootings and killings of people of color during a minor traffic stop.
And you suggest a solution to these biases. You suggest relying on technology to enforce traffic laws instead of police officers. Tell us more about that.
Well, humans have to exercise judgment, and a lot of times that judgment can be wrong, as we've seen in the news stories that come out with police officer shootings. And one way to reduce discretionary policing of traffic enforcement and traffic stops is to use automated enforcement that don't exercise discretion. They cite everybody for violation for speeding or running a red light. And so reducing those encounters will reduce the abusive and violent encounters that people of color may have.
And in a report you wrote for the Justice Collaborative Institute, you also suggest perhaps having unarmed personnel enforce traffic laws as another potential solution. How would this work, and have any states considered doing this?
So there are traffic violations that can't be used with traffic cameras. And so for those, I recommended using unarmed traffic enforcers or traffic agents, because we don't need an armed response to enforce minor or routine traffic violations. And the number one goal is to bring back public safety in traffic law enforcement. Some cities have tried a version of this. New York City, for example, used traffic agents to ticket parking violations and really minor violations. More recently, Berkeley, California have moved towards using unarmed enforcers, including Brooklyn Center in Minnesota.
And I'm wondering, with these handful of places that have been trying it, what has been the result, and how have police officers responded to this?
Well, it's too early. So it hasn't been implemented yet in Berkeley or Brooklyn Center. They have passed resolutions to move forward with a plan, and they've indicated that it might take some time to fully implement those plans. In New York City, they've used traffic agents to cite minor parking violations for some time now. And the main response from law enforcement is a mixed bag. They They explained that traffic stops is one of the most dangerous aspects of their jobs, and that they should be the ones to continue to enforce them. Unfortunately, I don't think the statistics bear that out in terms of traffic stops resulting in death or serious injury to police officers. According to the latest study in 2015 that looked at data from the state of Florida, about one traffic stop out of 6.5 million traffic stops resulted in an officer's death. And so I think the reason why officers say that traffic stops are a really dangerous aspect of their job is because they're trained to think of traffic stops as dangerous, as full of uncertainty and unpredictability that could lead to a dangerous scenario. But if we could retrain traffic agents to handle and de-escalate potential violent situations, and to really treat the citation for minor traffic violations as a regulatory matter rather than a criminal matter, I think we would go a long way towards de-escalating that situation for everyone involved, for the enforcer and for the driver.
Yeah, very interesting. A poll, actually, that you conducted among likely voters shows that most people across party lines are actually in favor of relying on traffic cameras and this other type of automation, non-police agencies, to enforce traffic laws. We only have a few seconds left, but do you think that the entire country will move in this direction, and how long do you think it will take?
Well, it's a bit of a controversial issue right now throughout the country. A lot of people don't like traffic cameras because it's hard to challenge a ticket cited from a traffic camera. But there are ways to address their concerns without getting rid of traffic camera enforcement. We really see a lot of support for moving towards automated enforcement from people of color and poor people who would rather be cited automatically by a traffic camera rather than a human police officer or human enforcer who can exercise a great deal of discretionary power during that traffic stop.
Also takes a little bit less time. All right, Professor Sarah Seo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.